Hi guys, I'm Johnny Shivers. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a data engineer with over 10 years experience, working Monday to Friday primarily in the financial services sector, 5 times AWS certified, and I have nothing more in my free time than making videos for this very YouTube channel. Today, we're going to take a look at a beginner's guide to AWS ElasticSearch Service. So let's just get right into it. What is Elasticsearch? ElasticSearch Service is a service provided to us by AWS that implements Elasticsearch in a managed way. So what is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is an open source software project that lets us upload data such as geospatial, strings, documents, and then search that data in an efficient way in a cluster of computers or a single node in today's instance. Think about it like it's your own personal Google or personal search engine. We upload data into the software known as Elasticsearch. This is hosted for us by AWS in the ElasticSearch Service, and then we can search for that data by specifying keywords or geospatial data. We could do it on coordinates, for example. Once the data is in there and you're searching, there's a couple of ways to do that. So there is an API that you can just call off the console, and we'll do that today. And that's how you maybe integrate a custom application with ElasticSearch. There's also an open software UI called Kibana, and Kibana lets us easily upload data, search for data, build visualizations like charts and graphs if you were doing like real-time interaction with that data. So we'll take a look at Kibana as well. And then, as I said, we'll already look at that API. But why use Elasticsearch Service? Well, as I said, it is open source Elasticsearch itself, and you can actually download it for free and implement it yourself. But this is a bit of a pain. So you have to know how to download it, obviously, from the open source, compile it, put it onto a Linux instance, manage that Linux instance, look after all the infrastructure, the firewalls, the VPCs. Or AWS abstract all this away. And although there are options for us to kind of get more granular onto it, we can just spin up our own cluster with Elasticsearch already installed. And then we just get on with inserting the data, or uploading the data, and then searching for it. So it lowers that barrier to entry and it abstracts the infrastructure away from the end user. That really means as developers, we can just get on with putting the data in and getting it back out. And the infrastructure becomes less complex and there's automatic updates built into it. But when use Elasticsearch? So I saw this service used in numerous use cases throughout multiple businesses. A lot of businesses maybe start with their logs, put your logs into it from all your interactions in the AWS clouds, and you can start to build visual representations of that data, such as bar charts, pie charts, line graphs. You can do more advanced things obviously as well. It's great for hosting website data that needs search through. So if you have a big bank of questions and you want to search through it, Elasticsearch could be your answer. Geospatial data, because obviously when you're searching geospatial data, you do a lot of coordinates lookups. And obviously you want a search engine possibly over a database, and then Elasticsearch brings that to you. So you could search on coordinates and get back the name of a place quite easily versus doing that in a database. And then on top of that, other places use it for business analytics. So you could bring different sources of data together, put it in Elasticsearch, then build a Kibana dashboard on top of that with like graphs, and that searches the underlying cluster for the data it needs. So you can see that really it's when you need a search capability, but you also need a high volume of data, Elasticsearch Service is really that go-to thing. With that being said, as usual with all these AWS services, it's a bit abstract talking like this. So let's get onto the console and let's build our first Elasticsearch instance. We'll upload some data and then I'll show you how to use an API to search for that data, but also use the Kibana inbuilt UI to look for the data as well and upload data. I'll point that out while we're there. Okay guys, that's me logged back into the AWS console. First thing we need to do is navigate to ElasticSearch Service. So just type in the top as usual, ElasticSearch Service. And we're looking the ElasticSearch Service. If this is the first time you've been on the page, then just click Create New Domain. We're just going to do a development and testing, one availability zone for when you just need an endpoint. So as I said, this is just our testing zone, so let's leave it there. Just select the most recent version. It's currently 7.10 for me. Hit next. Give your Elasticsearch a domain name. So I'm going to call this one movies. We don't need to worry about the custom endpoint here, so we can just leave that. Auto-tune, just leave as well as is. Data nodes, we just want the smallest one. So there's actually a free tier one, which we will go and find. and we want a general purpose T3 small. I'm going to go for. That should do us. Just the one node as well. Leave everything else as default on the data nodes storage section. And click next. To keep this simple, I'm going to configure just full public access. We want to actually access this by password, so we're just going to create a master user. So click offset I am and click create master user. You're going to have to give this a username and password that you remember. So write it down if needs be. This is only a demo, so I'm not going to worry too much about security here. Always worry about security in real life though. We don't need to worry about SAML authentication here. We don't really want to worry about Cognito either right now. We can just ignore that section. For domain policy, choose open access. So allowing open access, that just means that anyone can reach this. Again, because it's a demo, I'm not worrying too much about security. It's more about getting it working and actually showing it in action. So we're going to leave it fully open. Keep everything else at the default values and click next. Don't need to worry about tags, click next. And then once we have it here, let's just double check everything. 1AZ, T3 small, so it's absolutely cheap as chips. EBS is in there. Public access is enabled. We are good to go. And again, just make sure you've wrote down your password and confirm. As you can see, we've successfully created an Elasticsearch domain. It's actually loading right now, so you can click this little refresh button. It takes about 10 minutes usually before the cluster's fully up and ready. So I'm just going to pause the video here, and then we can pick it up once this goes to enabled. Okay guys, the endpoint has gone active. That took about 15 minutes in total, although it does say it should take 10. Just be aware of that. Bear with it and just keep hitting refresh, and eventually it will become available. It's just one of those things. Have to bear with it. So the next stage is we need to load some data. In the description, there's a link to my GitHub where I have put a command. We're simply just going to load one piece of data into this cluster. I'll show you how to do it, and then you can go ahead and you can make more as you go. So the first thing we need to do is just copy this. I think the simplest thing to do for me right now is maybe I'm just going to double click and copy it out. I'm going to bring it over to a little text pad just so you can see everything that's going on. I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'll just pull this out a little bit more for us. So there's a couple of things we need to replace in here. One is the master user, one is the password. The other one is the domain that we put in because we need to replace it with our domain. So the first thing we need to do is replace that user. So I just called mine admin. Okay, so once you have your username and password in, just make sure that you've still got the actual tilde in and it hasn't changed that into a quote for some reason. Sometimes on the text pad, it will alter things. Next thing we need then is a domain endpoint to go in here. So I'm just going to delete this out. And if we go back on the Elasticsearch, and we take the endpoint, which is right here, and we just go copy and paste. That's us. Now, because I called my movies, you can also just use movies there. If you've called it a different domain space, then you need to change that movies command. Okay, now we have the actual command ready to go. Let's copy that. You can run this off your terminal or your command line, but to keep things simple for us and everyone following along, I'm going to use Cloud Shell. So AWS Cloud Shell is a little tool now that they give you to let you run commands in the cloud. I just did it by hitting that little play kind of button up on the top left beside the bell icon. Opens a new tab, configures an environment. So I'll pause the video here. Once the environment is configured, I'm just going to run that command. And the reason I'm doing this is just because this is a beginner's guide. And obviously, people might not be too familiar with command line. There are issues between Windows command line, Linux command line, and a Unix command line on a Mac. And by issues, I mean differences. So this way, at least it's all consistent for. So now I'm just going to copy and paste in that text. Hit enter. And as you can see, it successfully put in my, my piece of data that I wanted to put in there. Just bear that in mind. That's only one little piece of data I've put in. You can put more in now if you wish. Just go in and start changing around the different things that you see. So you can change around Tim Burton, the year, the actors if you wish. So that's now the data in, and now we want to search that data. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. One's through command line, or we can enter command here. So I'll show you how to do that. I'll put the command on the GitHub as well. So you can go back on the GitHub. You can grab that second command now, and it looks like this. What you want to do again is replace that username and password right here. Sure that it stays with the tilde. And then you want a copy and paste of the domain again. And I'm just doing this for speed. I'm in movies, so leave it as movies. So I'm just going to copy that command. And then what you want to do is just paste it in the command line. So you can take a new tab there to keep things nice and neat. So that's a new tab. And then I paste it in, and as you can see, and I hit enter. And it brought me back Mars attacks there at the bottom with all the other information. So that's the command line way, but there is a UI, and the UI is also open source, and it's called Kibana. So if we go back into Elasticsearch, and you can see that you actually have your Kibana URL, click on that. And then to log in, enter your username and password that you've been using all along. We've already added some data. You can add more data by clicking add data, but I'm just going to explore my own for now. We're going to want to just do global and confirm. Over on the left, you want to hit the hamburger menu. You want to go to stack management. Once on stack management, you want to go to index patterns. You want to go create index pattern. Then once on the index pattern, we want to type in movies because we only have movies. So it's just movies. And then we want to click next step. And we want to go create index pattern. This will only take a few seconds. And that's the index created. And you can see that there's different things that it's picked up, such as director, directory keyword, and then different searchables. Okay, back onto the hamburger menu. You want to go to discover now. Okay, then once on, this is now your search language. So we see, I can type in Mars, hit enter, and you can see that it found Mars. If I take that out and hit Burton, you can see that it found Burton. That's everything for today, guys. It's a really kind of basic intro into Elasticsearch and Kibana, just loading one row in onto a cluster and then searching for it. As I said, you can add more data. Now we have Kibana up and running, or alternatively, you can perform more searches. That being said, that's everything for today. I'll make everything available as usual for free on my website, www.johnnychivers.co.uk. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.